Welcome back and happy Saturday, Squirrel Nation. Today we are going to review some PVL Pro Week 10 gameplay. This match is the second match between Knights of the Zodiac and Zelph Nation. It's a very interesting match. There is a lot of back and forth, and the game literally comes down to the wire. I think the very enjoyable one, and some interesting team comps happening. So anyways, let's dive into it. So beginning, they actually before we do that, so if you notice the bans, Knights of the Zodiac has banned two very top tier assassins in Murad and Zephys, and they also got rid of Chognar. Generally, that would tell me that they are basically, they either want to do a poke comp or they are looking to do something where they don't want the enemy team to be able to burst them. So that means they're looking for some sort of sustain comp, like with a Pura or people with lifesteal, like that type of thing. Same thing with the Chognar is because he would let people get out of CC, so that would tell me that they also want to have heroes that have CC, quite a bit of CC. So anyways, let's dive in. So first pick Cricknack. I'm gonna switch to colors for their names just to make it easier. So anyways, Red decides to go with Ignis and Malik. So two pretty strong heroes. Ignis is obviously extremely strong mid laner. He has CC. He has a lot of damage, right? And Malik is just a great side laner. Period. He can soak up a lot of damage. He does a good job. So as we can see, Blue goes directly into a double assassin comp. Ahri, after her rework, is definitely much more of an assassin than she is a warrior. I would consider she's much squishier, but her burst is a lot higher. There's the Pura we were kind of expecting, and let's let these comps finish out, and then I'll pause and we can kind of discuss the team comps. Jinnar Pura combo makes a lot of sense. It is a great combo, and Lindis as the red team's jungler. So let's pause here and discuss the comps. So the comps came very interesting. Teamy, I think, is a good pick because the red team needs anti-assassin support. So probably the best anti-assassin support right now is Annette. And then some other good anti-assassin supports. Teamy is definitely one of them. I think Alice is one of them to me. The reason why Teamy is good is because he has a revive, so assassins rely heavily on burst damage. If Teamy gets off his revive and the assassin uses all their burst to kill somebody and then they're revived, then obviously that's what makes Teamy a good anti-assassin. Pure, on the other hand, is an anti-poke champion. The reason she's an anti-poke champion is because she has so much healing and sustain for her team. So as the enemy team is poking them with Lindis and poking them with Ignis's damage, Pura can actually just heal that up. And I think Blue team went with a very interesting comp I kind of like, because what they're going to do is they're going to have two assassins going in, getting their burst damage off. They're going to take damage, they're going to come back, and then Pura can heal them up and get them ready to re-engage. Pura can also combo with Jinnar very strongly, and same with Kresht. Between Kresht and Pura can help keep the red team in Jinnar's ultimate, right? Because Pura has that AoE stun, and Kresht also has a major team stun and knockback in his S1 skill. So I really like where Blue team's going. Red team, I think, did really well too, to be honest. They got good heroes. This game is heavily going to come down to which team is able to force their win condition on the other. Blue's win condition is for the assassins Cricknack and Ahri to eliminate Ignis and Lindis, whereas the red team's issue is going to be they need to burst down the squishies of Blue. So they need to burst down the assassins, Jinnar, and Pura. If red team can burst down the Pura and the assassins, then they're going to win. If blue team jumps on Ignis and Lindis, they're going to win. That is basically how I view the game. So anyways, throughout this, one very important thing to note is Teamy's positioning is going to be very important because he needs to be next to Ignis and Lindis. He needs to be within range to get his ultimate off on them so that they don't die from the blue team's assassins, because like we said, if blue is able to kill them, then blue is definitely going to come away with this game. So anyways, let's speed this up and dive in. So another thing why I think this game was a great one is because there's a swing. Both teams at a point have a pretty strong lead, and then they kind of give it up, and then there's kind of a nice seesaw back and forth. In a lot of pro play, it tends to be a team gets ahead and they kind of stay ahead. So I really appreciate this game because there is that back and forth. But it also provides us with the opportunity to talk about what to do when you are behind. When you find yourself behind, what should your team do to try to reverse the table on the enemy. So the game's going to begin by red starting to build a lead. They really want to get their Lindis fed. Lindis is very strong in the early and into the mid game. She does start to fall off late game. Lindis, some of her drawbacks are it's extremely hard for her to defend high ground towers because there's no bush. If there's no bush, she can't activate her passive, which means she is going to lose a lot of potential damage. Ignis just is pretty beastly at all stages of the game right here. Lindis starting off great. You get your Lindis a kill. That is a really good sign for your team in general because now, like we said, she goes strongly into mid game and you're just helping her get there quicker. So red is definitely starting off well in this case. They're rotating, they're stealing jungle. Right now you can notice they're stealing the red enemy's red buff. They do successfully do that. The teams are collapsing in for a team fight. Malik, nice ultimate zoning. If you notice where he put it, everybody has to run through it, so they're slowed. The really great thing about Malik to note that great Malik players do is they use their zone, that huge area, that AoE slow, to cut off choke points in team fights, which makes it very hard for teams to fight within a Malik's ultimate without coming out on a disadvantage. So for all you Malik players out there, definitely take note of where high-level Maliks place their ultimate. It's not always best just to land on the enemy. Sometimes it's better to put in Malik ultimate in the path the enemies want to walk through. So right here, you notice he keeps using Malik ultimate in between the different pathing routes. So anyways, as we said, red starting off quite well, right? They've invaded successfully. They've built about a 700 gold lead 4 minutes into the game. They're getting another kill. They're going to end up getting this tower. So red is doing very well. So that becomes the issue to the blue team is how are they going to counter this? And if you notice, Jinnar is about to feed another kill over. So at this point, I think a lot of people would agree that this is the game seems to heavily be favoring red right now. They're up just about 2k gold. They have a tower down. Everything's just going in their favor. They have their Lindis, who is quite fed. She's at just shy of 3k gold. So she has a significant gold lead over everybody in the game. Anyways, Dragon is coming up. And this is where blue starts to make a comeback and make interesting things happen. Right there, Cricknack grabs Ignis. We talked about win conditions. The assassins need to jump on. That seems good, but at the same time, Lindis picks up the dragon, so the trade is not too optimal. Here's the problem, is red overstayed. So the lesson to be learned here is that when Lindis secured the dragon while they killed Ignis, that was a good trade, right? The dragon is approximately worth 2 kills. So if you trade 1 kill to get the dragon, your team actually ends up ahead. The problem is Lindis overstayed with Malik and then ends up getting killed. And like we talked about, Lindis you want your Lindis to be ahead and farmed, and she was doing that, but now when she's dead, she can't be farming gold and XP, she can't be using the power that she built to bully the enemies. And if you notice in that time, the gold has had a big swing, and it's now back within 400 gold. And here, once again, the assassins are successfully getting on the back line, and that is going to continue to be a major issue for the remainder of this game, is Lindis and Ignis have a very hard time doing anything in this game because blue team's assassins are just all over them. So here the Ahri's mobility is just wrecking them, can't get away. Again, Jinnar, good timing, comes in from behind when they're all chasing after the Ahri and gets a kill on the Ignis. So another thing about continually killing the Ignis and the Lindis that you have to keep in mind is that they're dead, and so when they're dead, they're losing gold, they're losing experience. So the gold for the red team is not going on to the heroes they want it on, right? They need their Ignis and Lindis to get farm, get ahead. And the reason why is we talked about red's win condition. Red team, their win condition is Ignis and Lindis have to be able to burst the enemy teams down. If they can't burst them, if they just try to poke and do chip damage to the enemy, then Pura is simply going to out-heal their poke, and they're just going to fall more and more behind and lose more and more control of the map. So the red team really needs to focus on farming up. What they do end up doing in this game, which really helps them, is red ends up realizing, okay, we're very far back in farm. At this point, if you notice, they're already 3k behind, and they were 2k ahead, so there's a huge swing. Blue did what they needed to do to get back in this game. Now red needs to do it, and what red needs to do is they need to turtle up. They need to wait. They need to build out some more items, catch up, close the lead that blue has, and basically to do that, they need to minimize the towers they lose. They need to minimize the deaths. They need to minimize the objectives, the dragon, the vision seagull, the spirit sentinels that they give up. And I think red in general does a very good job of that for the game, and it does eventually let them back into this game to where they had a real chance of winning. On the other hand, the red or the blue team needs to be focusing on using their lead to keep bullying red and building an advantage even more out of them and trying to close out the game. Something that happens here that I think became an issue for blue is they're just having so much trouble getting getting the high ground towers, and you'll notice now they're going to take all the low ground towers with relative ease. They're pushing, they're using making good use of the Drake, but they just really struggle with the high ground towers, and this is what red does to get back in this game. Red defends their high ground towers very well. If you're going to learn something from this game, I think you should take the way that red defends, right? They're rotating, they're clearing waves, they're watching people, right? Notice they have one person killing the Drake right now in Zenial, and he has the Drake away from the tower, so the tower's not taking damage from the Drake, but he is killing it while their team is rotating to the dragon, which is the objective that is now on the table. So like we said, it's important not to die and keep feeding kills, but it's also important to minimize the amount of towers you're letting die and minimize the amount of free objectives the enemy team gets when you're trying to come back in a game. You can't simply sit in your base, let them take all your towers, let them take the dragon, the Dark Slayer for free. If you do that, they're simply going to snowball to a win. So implementing a good comeback is not as easy as sit in my base, don't die. That actually, if you try to have that mentality, it will hurt you. And notice the gap is still too large. Like, blue's still 2 ahead. Kriknak just instantly killed Ignis, right? And a problem there also, though, was Teamy's positioning was not such that he could help Ignis when he got on, right? If Teamy could have got an ultimate off or got a stun off on Kriknak, then Ignis probably could have got away, but Teamy wasn't there. Whether that was Teamy's bad or Ignis's bad, I don't know how their communication's going, but Teamy should definitely be with Ignis and with Lindis this game. He should be heavily babysitting them. Malik and Zenial don't really need babysitting. Both of them are quite tanky. They will be Malik and Zenial are very hard for the assassins to burst down. That's why Teamy should be around his squishies, providing that. And so, see, here again, blue tries to dive the tower, but red stages it very good. The Malik and the Zenial make very good use of their ults to zone the enemy. The enemies do try to fight under the tower, but with the Zenial healing from his ultimate and the Malik ult to slow them all down, Ignis is able to clear the minions and do quite a bit of damage to the enemy team. So, as you notice, I mean, this is their second time trying to push into these towers, and the red team is doing a great job of keeping their towers up. Blue, I think, does realize that they're having issues, so you're about to see them create pressure on all the lanes by pushing top, mid, and bottom lane all to the enemy towers, and then they take Dark Slayer. I think this was a great idea by them, and this is going to help them secure their first high ground towers of the game. One interesting thing to note is the positioning that the blue team is taking to secure Darkslayer. If you notice, Ahri is sitting up in the enemy jungle. She's actually trying to not only get vision, but get a ambush on the squishies if they happen to separate themselves from their support. So anyways, I think blue did an outstanding job of securing Darkslayer. You notice they're still quite ahead, right? And they're about to get both these towers. So this time they have Drake, right? They're fighting. I think blue probably could have ended the game, but they do go quite aggressive here. If you notice, they all go in. Red, the positioning, once again, the Zenial and Malik ult just helped them so much because the Zenial and Malik ultimates let Ignis have the space he needs to just get off huge damage. They do get this wipe, but the trade was definitely worth it for the blue team. So blue gave up 4 kills, but they also got 2 high ground towers, so it worked well. If you notice, just from a tactical point of view, what they did is they dropped the Drake in the top lane, and then they all fought middle lane. So I love that type of play because it forces your enemies to make a hard decision, right? If one person or 2 people stay to clear the Drake, and then 5 of you, and then you have to end up fighting a 5v4 fight or a 5v3 fight, you end up losing it, the game's really easy to lose. So I still think Red did a very good job. I mean, they're in a really bad situation. Yes, they lost 2 high ground towers, but at least they did get 4 kills, and they also won the game at that moment. So that's the thing. And now, because of that, now they are all at level 15, so they're all max level. They're all still building towards their endgame build. Lindis is max build, Zenial is max build, Ignis is almost getting to max build, and same with Malik. So Red is doing what they need to do, right? We talked about just delaying the match, getting to max level, getting to max items, so that you can have a chance of winning. So Red has successfully done that at this point, and a lot of this is going to come down to this last tower. That last fight went very well because Teamy was there to ult to protect the Ignis and Lindis. Lindis does die, but Ignis stays alive, and they also start to snowball these kills. So anyways, this is another major mistake blue makes, and this is almost cost them the game, is Ahri's running away and Kriknak is doing dragon. So Ahri literally runs 3 enemies with full health to her Kriknak, who is trying to do Abysmal Dragon. So now, not only does Kriknak die, but the red team does secure the Enraged Abysmal Dragon. So that play of Ahri just leading them right to the dragon almost cost them the game. And so in the final sequence, let's start discussing it. If you notice, red is significantly behind. The blue team has only lost 2 towers. They even still have their tier 1 tower bot lane, right? So, but this is how games can be turned, right? Don't get too confident in your lead. Red did what they needed to do, we discussed. Now, all their carries are at max build. The only person not at max build is Teamy, but everybody else is max build, max level, right? And now they start to win these team fights because the assassins can't get on Ignis and Lindis, and they can't just burst them down instantly. So now all of a sudden you see red in this sort of death ball where they just bursted down both of the enemy team's assassins, and now they're starting to press towers, right? Crest there is doing an outstanding thing. He's killing the minions, okay? When you're in this situation, killing the minions is super important, and this is what Ignis was doing when the red team was defending their high ground tower so successfully. He kept clearing the minions so that the tower's not taking so much damage. So Jinnar's going to do it again. He comes in and he ults. You have to do this. If Crest would not have killed the minions, if Jinnar right there would not have killed the minions, their team would have just lost the game flat out. Okay, and right here, I'm going to pause and we're going to discuss this. Blue team is making great plays to kill the minions. We saw Crest die to kill the minions. We saw Jinnar die to kill the minions, okay? And it still comes to this point. And if you notice right here with my mouse in the top right corner, there is a siege minion with about 30% health. And if you notice, Ahri's here. So Ahri, there's a lot of players who they'll see this Ignis, they'll see this Lindis super low, and they'll target onto him. Ahri does do damage to this siege minion, but the siege minion doesn't die. the siege minion actually remains with very little health. But if you notice in the coming clip, what Ari's going to do is she's going to position back here such that she could run in and kill the minion if necessary, right? The mistake that red makes here is they don't tank the core for the minion. So what I mean by that is the Malik or the Zenial, who both have plenty of health, they're very tanky, they should actually take the core's aggro, so the core is shooting them, right? Because if they don't tank it, the core just needs to shoot the siege minion once and it will die. Once there is no minions, the core will be taking 80% less damage. That's why it's so important, and let's notice how low the core gets. So Ari gets damage onto the minion, as we said, bam, right here. So notice, if Malik or Zenial would have just stepped up so that the core doesn't shoot that siege minion, right? The siege minion just died, and notice, they're doing damage, right? And the thing was, the Ari came back here because she knew that if they do tank for the minion, I need to come in and I need to kill the minion, right? I almost guarantee Ari would have sacrificed her life to kill that minion so that they couldn't have killed the core. But if you notice, even without the minion, so the core right now is taking 80% reduced damage, and it already got down to less than 50% health, maybe like 40% health, right? So if that minion would have been there for just literally 1 second, the game would have been over right now. Red would have bursted the core down and they would have just won the game, right? So that's how little these things can do. The red team did something so amazing the entire game. They found themselves way behind, right? But they did stall out the game enough to recover, and Ari, just the IQ plays are just off in this, just backdoors them, sees that top's pushed in and goes to core, right? And if you notice, the Crest was pressing out and they're fighting here. The reason why is because he sees the backdoor happening by Ari and he doesn't want to let Ignis or Lindis come back so that they can clear the minion waves. Zenial kind of realizes and he's trying to run, but it's just too late. But anyways, this was an amazing game. I think this was probably my favorite PVL game of the season. The series, I would encourage everybody to go watch the full series. It goes 3 games. All the games are very enjoyable. This was just simply the one that I found the most enjoyable. Anyways, if you like today's content, please like and subscribe if you have not already. Let me know what you think. How was this game? Did you guys find this game enjoyable? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, have an amazing day and happy ranking. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.